Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music, and today I want to talk about sus chords, not suspicious kids, no, suspended. Suspended chords replace the third of the triad. It's almost always a triad, right? With the fourth degree or the second. So you can't tell if it's major or minor. Come to think of it, I think it is a little suspicious. We're going to talk about sus chords today. Well, first of all, if this is the second or third video of mine you've seen and you're getting something out of this channel, and I hope you are, and you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button now. At the very least, take 2 seconds and hit the like button. It's great for the channel, great for the other folks who are getting something out of this channel. I'm really trying to build a community of artists, of musicians, producers, composers, songwriters who are interested in the basic tools, the building blocks of music theory, not in an academic way, but in a way that that will serve your interests. How can I use this knowledge, sometimes things that I already sort of know but don't know that I know? How can I use music theory to grow my own artistry? I hope this is music theory for everyone. I do these shorts, every week, right? So the theme this week was sus chords, and I have 6 examples, and we're going to kind of pick them apart, if that's okay. I think that's not a bad way to go. But I think before we do that, let's kind of just do a quick review of what a sus chord is, how we tend to use them, because there's, dozens of ways you can use sus chords. All right, very quickly, and I'm sure you guys remember this. If I'm in a key, let's say the key of G, I have a set of triads whose notes all belong to the G scale. I'm building those triads in thirds, the interval of a third, the interval of a third. Intervals have names like seconds, thirds, but within the triad itself, there's a root, a third, and a fifth, and the third tells us whether the chord is major or minor. But if I take that third, the third of the chord is D here, and suspend it, replace the third with a fourth degree, and then allow it to go down, I'm going to replace this third with the second degree. I get a sus chord. Sus chords are incredibly useful. For instance, here's a G triad, an inverted one, but I'm going to take the ninth and move up to the third. This is a powerful sound. At the end, I used sus4, 3. Before that, I went sus2, 3, sus2, 3, sus4, down to 3. Well, there's lots of other ways to use sus chords. Somebody like Herbie Hancock wasn't afraid to just build a sus chord and just let it sit there. And in modal composition, very often sus chords will never resolve. And that can be very, very exciting as well. Sus chords are terrific to create a sense of motion. For instance, those sus chords pushed me forwards. We're going to use all of those ideas in the examples. So let's go back to the beginning and just kind of skip through, maybe pick them apart. My first example, very easy. We're in the key of C. And so we've got a C triad, the sus4, the triad, the sus2. We've got D minor, a D minor triad, and we have a sus4. This is a minor triad, but we still have sus2 to the minor third. And we also have a G triad. and we're going to go Sus4, triad, Sus2, back to the triad. And that's what you see right here, a C chord. And this would be a great accompaniment figure for a pop song. We'd have to add a melody, obviously. There's the 2 chord. 5. Notice how the suspensions suggest melody. If you gave this to a top liner, I guarantee you they would feel free to add ninths, fourths, seconds, things like that, just as part of what they'd, kind of like intuitively want to do. It's much more propulsive, right? Moves us forward through the progression, an easy progression and kind of a square progression. Nevertheless, the suspensions give us a lot of energy. Well, there's lots of ways to manage those kinds of suspensions. So in the next example, we're basically using arpeggios and altering the notes of the arpeggios to suggest first a suspension and then the resolution. So the first moment here is a D Sus4, and then the same thing over E. And then in the third example, the 4th goes down to the 3rd. Here, 4th, 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 down to the 3rd, while the bass ascends. It's a nice sound. So this is the D chord doing that. And then the F sharp major chord does the same thing. And then the B minor chord does the same thing. There's A sus to A. We'll hear it again in a moment. But using conventional sort of harmonic language, really, D, the 1 chord, F sharp, the major 3, a version of D minor 7, which sort of suggests E to A. But with suspensions every time, we're propelling ourselves forward and we're getting something a little more sumptuous, right? Very simple idea. Find a triad, find a chord progression you like, and then break it into suspended and then resolved versions of itself. Suspended D, resolved D. Suspended F sharp, resolved F sharp. B minor. And then there's the A, and it's an A9. You notice how there's the A here and a B on top. Let's go on. We really could do this kind of like all day, and I just love taking a simple progression and kind of playing around with suspensions. And here I've used an E minor chord and presented it with first its suspended 2. There's the F sharp replacing the G, and then suspended 4. There's the A replacing the G, and the sound is lovely. Don't you hear this wanting to go back down again? It's a beautiful effect. And we've got an instrumental form that I just think of as the oscillation. Now the bass line just kind of keeps us moving. Using a suspension on a minor is completely permitted. E minor. F sharp 7, A, to B, and B is the 5 of E, so we go back to the beginning. Again, a forward moving progression. It sort of propels us forward. I just want to give this to a top liner, enjoy playing around with it. Very simple chord progressions, embellished by suspension and resolution. My teacher, Dr. Roland Wiggins, used to call it the anticipation fulfillment dyad. A dyad is when you have two objects in play with each other. A lot of music is about anticipating something, and then you decide whether you're going to satisfy the listener's sense of what it should be or not. And that anticipation fulfillment dyad gives us forward motion. It creates energy and tension, which moves us through the piece. And it's great for scoring and it's great for songwriting. Let's go to the next one. So actually, in this one, we've got 3 different voicings of the same chord. And here, this is a very sort of jazz or sort of like post-bop type of chord. The C, and we don't know exactly what it is. We're going to get all kinds of, options over here on the right from Chordy. It doesn't really know what it is. Is it C Sus 7? Is it G minor 7 with 4th over the F? I don't know. But the first one is definitely this stack of cluster of tones, and then we can spread it out a little bit more. Now it feels like instead of a cluster of 4ths, this one here, it's a cluster of 5ths, and then we get up to here, we spread out and we get the sort of final voicing, the root position of it, where we see the root, the C, there's the sus 4, the 5th, and the flat 7. And this is a great sound. And we could continue on, add a 9th if we wanted, add an 11th on top. So something like, that's the C11 or C sus 7. Here's the F version. Here's the D flat version. Here's the B flat version. These are great sounding chords, right? A major triad, a whole step below the root. Well, for this example, what I've done is broken up that C sus sound, and I've added the other notes from the C minor 7 scale down below, and I've just put the 2 hands together and drummed them, which is, I know, kind of a little busy, but what the heck. You want to see what it looks like if I do it here? So the first hand is kind of simply doing this, C and G, and then these 2 notes here, F and B flat. So I'm doing this. For you pianists, I'm going 1 and 3, 2 and 5, 1 and 3, 2 and 5. And then this hand comes in kind of either over the top or underneath. I'm going to put it over the top, and it interlocks. So now I'm going to go, and I'm bouncing off the A flat every time and going 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. And that whole thing sort of drums. It's a pretty strong sound. For the second half, the A flat becomes A, and the E flat becomes E, so becomes, and the sound is, as a result, really different. I get sort of a C7 sound now, somehow. I guess we just would have to say that, right? So the first sound, the second, first, second. Gets kind of brighter. So much fun. Sounds like this. It's a great drumming sound. Very excited. And then here's the change. It's great for underscoring. It's an interesting technique. It's a kind of a what I call modal saturation, what my teacher called pan-diatonic harmony, where like within the space of just a moment, a few beats, you hear all of the notes of a scale. It can be, exciting and fun. But let's go on. For this next example, what we've got here is another kind of arpeggio example. And it's really pretty beautiful because the suspension is at the bottom of the voicing. You can see here, it starts on C, which is the 4th of the G chord. The suspension is at the bottom, and as a result, you can see the bottom line just descends in this kind of glorious almost sort of old-fashioned Baroque way. G sus to G. And then this could be F sus or maybe C7. It's hard to know. There's no third. But it definitely resolves to F and then F minor. And then to C. F minor 6 to C. We're definitely in the key of C. And yet the first thing that happens is G sus to G. It's a beautiful progression with the moving line at the bottom. And that's what makes it so elegant. And I think this would make a great sort of supporting track for a vocalist. I'm going to hand this over to a top liner immediately. Well, the sus chords don't have to be, emotional. They can also be just great embellishments. And in fact, I think maybe the first sus chord that I really sort of like grokked as an embellishment was something simple called the Floyd Riff. Floyd Kramer, the great country pianist, would do this all the time. So what I just did there was I played a G chord with the 9th going up to the major third. The 2nd goes up to the 3rd. That's another way to think of it. And you can do that with all of the primary chords in G. So here it is in G, D, C. And sus to G. This whole pattern is made of the primary chords and Floyd riffs. It's got a Bruce Hornsby vibe, doesn't it? It's really just, 1, 5, 4. Little triplet-y versions of that embellishment. The Floyd riff. Any key you're comfortable in. Grab the primary chords and try a Floyd riff in. Having the D on top like that sounds kind of like something you might do on guitar, right? Listen, sus chords, replace the 3rd with the 4th or the 2nd. It's really powerful for a lot of musical styles. Not only can we use it to embellish just a normal triad in any old progression, it also provides propulsion, a way of creating a moving through line that can be really elegant for string writing or any kind of songwriting or producing. I hope you can find a way to work it into your own music, and I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe, ding the bell. You'll be notified when I do my videos, and I'll see you next time.